Hi, this is Geshe Michael Roach. Welcome to the Peachtree Cafe show for Tuesday, February 25th. And today I have two very special guests. I think I'd like to introduce Mr. Ben Galmi. Welcome to the show.
It's a great pleasure.
Thank you for coming. Ben was born in Morocco, grew up in Paris. He's a real Parisian. We gave him the Paris Cup for the coffee. He's a very famous investment banker. He's worked for Deutsche Bank and Alliance Bank, and he's also been in the Middle East. He's been a trade officer for the French government. In fact, he was the deputy trade commissioner for one of the French embassies in the Middle East. And then he's been on to do, he's been doing interviews on CNN. They ask him big questions, and Le Monde newspaper in Paris, and he's a very well-respected economist around the world. Recently, I think it's really cool, he's been involved with the Chinese platforms, and he's worked for companies in Beijing and lived there, and helped start those platforms for large trading companies. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Seiji I'm going to introduce on Thursday, but he also has an economy background. He's an economist also by education. So, and he's a master of the seed system because he's been translating some of the ancient books, but we'll introduce him on Thursday. So today's question, which I would like to ask myself, is, it's a very strange thing and it affected me personally, to shut down the airlines between China and America, and all of the trade, and all those ships going back and forth, car parts being made in China, electronics being made in China, and suddenly the whole country is stopped producing things. People are nervous to buy things. The whole international trade with the biggest trading person in the world, China, is being disrupted. So I think it's a concern to all of us, and we'd like to know what you think about it. Mm-hmm. What do you think of what's going to happen? What's the future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's indeed the world all of a sudden realized how interconnected we all are, how the global value chains are all interconnected and dependent on each other, and China obviously has been rising in the last 20 years as one of the major global value chain in the world in many sectors, automobile, biotechnology, new technologies, and so China is in the middle of the world economy, and it's the second, if not the first one, depending on the calculations, and indeed what is happening now is clearly showing how interconnected we are. Now the question is what is the impact, and that's on everybody's mind. I feel that the government right now has been very good at containing everything, and the impact economically is obviously very high on everybody's minds. The Chinese government, of course, which is trying very hard in a very tough balancing act, but it's succeeding in doing it. And the rest of the world as well, other economies, Europe, Germany is definitely one of the most connected to China, France as well. There are direct flights between many of the French cities, between Paris and Nice. These are cities which are directly connected to China, but Germany as well. So when the decision to close the airlines and reduce the flights between Europe and China, when this decision was taken, it was a very hard decision and very sad and very hard, but that needed to be done. And at the same time, I think that what is happening now is going to be a question of how long this lasts, and there seems to be some understanding of the economic impact, depending on how long this lasts. If it takes more than one more month, then the impact is going to be more long-lasting. But if it's within the next 4 weeks, then probably we will see a resumption, and we will see some what we call catch-up effects. What hasn't been done in the first quarter will probably happen in the second quarter, and you're going to see some of these V rebounds. So that's very technical for the time being. But what is happening right now as well is that it has raised some debates in Europe, for example, about global value chains, and in the US, well, it's very sad that there was a trade war already going on before, and that's very very sad. But at the same time, what we're going to see once this crisis is over is probably a common understanding of how these global value chains work, and we will probably be engaged in a common dialogue, because that's what this crisis is showing, is that we're all in it together. It's not just China. We all have to work together, and that's probably what's going to happen after the crisis, is to realize that we need to all work together and transcend our competitive minds, basically.
So I'm going to ask you, I heard a big thing in China right now is that after the SARS epidemic, that there was a huge rebound in the economy. Like people were locked up in their apartments, and then suddenly they get to go out and they start buying like crazy. What do you think? Maybe like something like that?
Well, it's interesting because one of the things that I do is I work for the Diamond Core Institute and the Sedona College, and we have a lot of friends in mainland China, and I've been having the opportunity to talk to a lot of them.
Cool.
And one of the first things that I've asked them is, how are you feeling during these times? I mean, I had to stay home for about a week because I got sick, and I was going crazy. Then being there for a month. But one of the cool things that has come up in our meetings is that they're taking this time, at least the people that I know. I cannot say that this is common for all the people in mainland China, but they've said that they've taken this time to take it kind of like as a retreat, to be able to get back to themselves, think of their main purposes in their lives, and to some of them have some cool ideas of what they want to do with their lives. So I think, like you said, it can be a problem in disguise. At least the people that I've talked to, they seem to be now on the turning point of saying, you know what, this forced me to come up with new ideas. For example, a lot of them are thinking of how to be able to make this an online opportunity, for example.
Like DCI.
Exactly what we're doing.
Street cafe.
Absolutely.
So you think more things will be done online?
Absolutely.
I'm worried about the education in China. I'm thinking if everyone gets used to doing education online, then maybe it will start being only online, and then kids don't meet each other, and it would be a strange thing to me.
It's very interesting because China is also already so advanced technologically in terms of these new. There are new tools that could be used. Recently, I heard about a learning system which is for learning how to do carpentry.
Wow.
Very, very simple, and the teacher who is teaching to hundreds of people around the world is actually having a camera on his, and the students can see what the teacher is doing. So there may be some experiential tools for which China is already very good, and that could be used in education and schools and higher education as well. So, but you're right. If this goes too far in one direction, that poses a question about
interaction with human beings.
Exactly.
I have a question for you. So Seiji, I don't know if you know, he's working on a text. It's 1,000 years old, from ancient India, and he's been working on it for over 3 years now, I think. And it's a book about correlations between. It's called karmic correlations. Can you explain what is a correlation? And then maybe you could tell us what are some correlations we could use for the virus? You know, how can one person affect the world economic
Right.
risk of this virus?
Yeah, sure. Well, one of the cool things that I really like about my book is that it explains this idea of correlations. And correlations, I know it's a funny word, but it mainly means what we've been talking about in this channel about cause and effect. Mm-hmm. What you can do and what a certain action does in the future. So you do this, and then as a result, you get that.
You mean it plants a mental seed?
Right, exactly. Exactly what we've been talking about, planting seeds in your mind. Whatever you do always has to create a result. And some of them are obvious, some of them are more difficult. But in this case, for example, I think the question on a lot of people's minds, the way that I understand it, is these actions that are being taken is going to have an impact on the economy? And I would say from the correlation standpoint, if we continue helping people, in this case, being financially successful, then the only thing that can come from that is financial success.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think it's just about being creative and finding other ways, like if we cannot go out to the streets, finding other ways that we can help people be financially successful, so that we keep continuing planting seeds. This without this situation affecting us too much, I think.
What can a normal citizen do? I mean, like somebody in France or... By the way, you're both very fluent in French. You want to show us?
Bien sûr.
Okay.
This correlation in French.
Corrélation.
Les corrélations.
No, but discuss it for
30
seconds.
On continue en français.
He was brought up in a French academy.
Yeah. His French is good. Yeah.
Alors, si on veut avoir de l'argent suffisant pour pouvoir vivre, alors on doit être sûr de planter des
bonnes graines.
Des bonnes graines.
Oui, tout à fait, je suis d'accord.
Aider autres personnes à avoir de l'argent.
Et tout à fait.
D'accord.
Tout à fait, d'accord.
So what's a normal thing that, you're a global economist, you're a pretty famous economist.
Thank you.
And you're also very familiar with the seed system. So, what would you think you're both economists, but what do you think, Ben, what can a normal person do to help out with the global impact of this thing?
I think that every citizen in the world, the French, the Germans, the Americans, South Americans, should all be thankful to every single citizen in China right now. Because, as you said, I can't stay more than 3 days at home, locked. And and so we should be thankful for what every single Chinese is doing right now to limit the extent of the epidemic, because they are doing it for us.
So it's a sacrifice for us.
Absolutely. And so that I think from the seed system point, I think that this is already planting a seed in our mind to recognize what others are doing for us.
To have gratitude.
Gratitude
seems to be a big seed. Your book's all about selfishness. How does that play in here?
Well, you know what? Now that what Ben was saying was very interesting, because I think what the people in mainland China are doing by keeping themselves from going out and doing this sacrifice, they're actually planting the seeds for this not to spread out. So actually, this is a direct action for this to be over.
Yeah.
Because they're basically what they're doing is protecting other people's lives, right?
Absolutely.
So they're, in my opinion, and according to what you just said, they're doing exactly what they need to do to stop from these two, both on the conventional and on the deep level. They're stopping the sickness from getting out.
Absolutely.
And by doing that, they're planting health.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a nice take on it, because I don't think, I'm from America, I live in America, and we don't get a lot of encouragement from the government or anybody to thank the Chinese people for that sacrifice of staying indoors for a month. I heard it's very, very difficult for people.
Absolutely.
People fight with each other when you're stuck in a house. You get stuck in a house with your best friend, you're going to start fighting after 2 days anyway. So it's difficult. It's very difficult. So maybe we should thank them
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe that's a way, according to the seed system, gratitude has a huge impact on seeds, on mental
Totally.
seeds.
Totally. That's the first that's the first thought that I had
Yeah.
when I saw how each of my friends, they send me
Yeah.
messages, and I check on them, and basically I'm thankful to them, to each one of
Yeah.
them.
So I like it. So here you guys have from Peach Tea Cafe a world famous economist and another economist telling us that I think the best thing we can do to affect how it's going to affect the global economy is to have gratitude for the people, also the people on the front line, the doctors, the nurses. I heard many are infected now, and
Yeah.
just I think gratitude is the best thing
Yeah.
we can do.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ben. I hope you're going to come
Yes.
back on Thursday. I hope you come back and be with
It's a
us.
great pleasure.
And I hope you come back many, many times. Personally, I get a world economy update from him about every 6 months. We sit down for a few hours and we hear about that. Seiji, you got a question for?
Sure. We have a
next
question that will be
for
answered
Wednesday.
tomorrow
Yeah.
by Scott and Reid. So,
Yeah, they gave me a trick: is watch the reflection of the window when you hold it up.
Good morning, everyone. This is Asif from London, UK. My question is related to if someone is not a big earner, has a small salary, should he only set small goals or should he aim for the sky? Thank you.
Wow. So that Scott and Maria will be answering that, and that's if I just have a small salary now, should I just stick to small, reasonable goals, or with the seed system, maybe can I expect something more?
right.
So thank
Sounds
you.
like a
guys.
very cool question.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you guys. How do you say?
Merci.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup for coming to the show. We'll see you later on in the week. Hope you guys like the show. And we'll see you tomorrow for this question about limiting income.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.